Hey y'all, we are still talking about I'm Called this week. We may short out today, we may not. We may dig in next week because it is so rich. Let's go back to that Romans passage, Romans 9, and I'm going to read it from the Passion Translation. Okay. This is Romans 9, verse 24 is where we're going to start. Even for us, whether we are Jews or non-Jews, we are those he has called to experience his glory. He has called you to experience his glory. Remember the prophecy given or that God gave in Hosea? To those who were rejected and not my people, I will say to them, you are mine. And to those who were unloved, I will say, you are my darling. And in the place where they were told, you are nobody, this will be the very place where they will be renamed children of God. And the prophet Isaiah cries out to Israel, though the children of Israel are as many as the sands of the seashore, only a remnant will be saved. For the Lord will act and carry out his word on the earth and waste no time to accomplish it. I love that part. That's why I kept going. I wanted to read that. That the Lord will act and carry out his word upon the earth and waste no time accomplishing it. In the very place that they were told, the Bible tells us that those who believe in Jesus will never be put to shame. Those who trust in Jesus, I believe it's in Hebrews, they will never be put to shame. And sometimes in life, much like the woman caught in the act of adultery who was grabbed and paraded in front of the court at the temple. Meanwhile, there's no mention of the man who obviously was participating with her. But the woman was brought. Talk about shame. Talk about embarrassment. But you know what? In the very place where Satan meant to shame you to death, literally, they said the law calls for her to be stoned. What do you say? And Jesus said, I don't condemn you. Go and sin no more. Those who, in the very place where they were told, you're a nobody, this is the very place where they will be renamed children of the living God. Children of the living God. This woman left that place changed. And we can read, you know the parable of the prodigal son, right? So that's in Luke chapter 15 if you want to go back and read it. So a father has two sons. The younger son says, give me my inheritance, I'm done. Which basically to him, what he said to the father was, you are dead to me, give me my portion, I'm leaving. In that culture, that is what the son said. You are dead to me. And left. Cutting off any familial tie that he would have had. You're dead. Give me what's mine. I'm leaving. And of course, he finds out that life that he thought was so grand and wonderful was actually not as grand and wonderful as he thought it was. He finds himself looking for food in the swine's slop, which for Jews, pigs were unclean animals. And so this was the worst of the worst that he could have found himself, eating with pigs, defiled animals, filthy animals, unclean in the sight of God. And he comes to himself and he says, in verse 17, this is Luke 15:17. Then when he came to himself, he said, how many hired servants of my father have enough food and even food to spare? But I'm perishing and dying of hunger here. I will get up and go to my father, and I will say to him, I have sinned against heaven and in your sight. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Just make me like one of your hired servants. So he got up and he came to his own father. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was moved with pity and tenderness for him. And he ran and embraced him and kissed him fervently. And the son said to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and in your sight. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. I no longer deserve to be recognized as a son of yours. But the father said to his servants, Bring the best robe and put it on him, and give him a ring for his hand and sandals for his feet. And bring out the wheat-fattened calf and kill it, and let us revel and feast and be happy and make merry. Because this son of mine was dead and is alive. He was lost and is found. The father says, because this my son. You see, a son can't be called a servant. It didn't matter what transpired. He was still a son. And I pray that you hear the goodness and the love of the Father say that to you today. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what's on the horizon. It doesn't matter what's in the past. It doesn't matter what you've done. It doesn't matter that you told me you're dead to me and walked away. You are still called a child of God. He still sees you and loves you as his child. And so when we acknowledge, oh, you are good, Father. You are a good Father. And when we turn and come, he still calls us his child. He still calls us by name. Oh, he is a good Father. And we will pick up here next week. I'll see you then. Bye, y'all.